In this video, I am going to walk you through how to make text bubbles for your ePUBs. So first off, if you have my InDesign book template that I use, that you may have purchased from my website, alt19creative.com, you will see some styles. This is, let me pull up the actual print version of this book, and you will be able to see the, all right, so here are our messages, and in the InDesign template there is a folder that says block quotes and text messages. There's two different versions of text. We have text A, text A1, text A2, so these are all together, and then we have text B, which is light and dark, first and second of each. So this is text B, and you have a dark version, which is this darker gray, and then you have a light version, which is this lighter gray. And you have first, so if it's the first message in a text string, you always use first, and then anyone after you use second. And so it just goes back and forth like actual text. Now, when you look at this, when you export it and actually look at it on an ePUB, on the ePUB that InDesign created, let me pull up some files here so we can see it. I'm going to show you what it looks like. And so we need to make some tweaks to make it look properly, because there are certain things, even though you have padding built in, you have a border radius set up, it does not view like that. So when you bring it into InDesign, this is how it's viewed. So you'll see there's no padding, there's no border radius or anything like that. So we are going to, I'm going to show you how to make these view properly in the ePUB, but we need to crack it open and do some work on the CSS, and that's what we're going to do in this video. Alright, so if we look at the code for these, you'll see that our class, text B dark first, text B light second, you'll see that built into the style, and then we have a span class called text name. So we're going to take a look at the CSS. Let's try to make this bigger so you can actually see it. Okay, sorry I can't make it much bigger than this. So we're gonna, so I have the CSS open as well. So this is the page, a page with the back and forth text message, and then this is the CSS. So here is all our CSS, starting with text B dark first. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove that color, the O, which just means make this color black. We don't want that. But what we do want, and I don't care about the Myriad Pro, I actually remove that because we're not embedding that font within the ebook, so I'm just going to remove that. And my font size, I do like to make them a little bit bigger than what InDesign brings in, so I'm going to make those all 0.9 EMs for that, for those text messages. So there's 4, so just make sure all these changes are in the 4. I remove anything that says normal in my CSS, so I'm just going to remove all of that throughout the whole ePUB or style sheet. Also remove anything that says none. And because I don't like these page breaks, often will create an extra page break and create a blank page on an iPad, I typically will remove those as well. Since I have the ebook split, I don't need those. Now, if you don't use that split document feature, you might want to keep those in. I'm just going to remove the widows and the orphans because those don't really work anyway. So here are our 4 text documents. Okay, I'm actually going to change the line height as well because that's a little bit too much for an ebook. I'm going to change it to, we'll change it to 1.2 since we got a. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to adjust the margins because right now the margins are in pixels. And I don't want them to be in pixels. I prefer percentages instead of pixels for ebooks, unless it's the fonts. So in sizes of margins and things like that, I always try to convert it to either EMs or a percentage. So our margin bottom, I'm definitely going to make an EM. So we're going to change that 9 pixels to 1 EM. So I'm just doing a search throughout my whole style sheet just to replace that. And then we are going to also change that margin top to an EM. And so here are the things again, and I need to change the margin left and right. So for the dark ones, we want them a little more towards the right. So we want our left margin to be a little bit wider. So what I'm going to do is I am going to set my left margin to be 20%, and I'm going to set, and you'll notice over here this is changing, and I'm going to set my right margin to be 15% for the dark versions. Okay, so we are going to set 20% and 15%. Now for our light versions, we are going to set 15% for our left margins and 20% for our right. Same goes for light 2, 15% and then 20%. Now we need to add padding. So we're going to say at the bottom of dark first, we're just going to start typing in padding. And we want to add a 1 EM padding around. We'll see how that is. Now, that's pretty hefty, so let's try to take that down to a 0.5 EM. Now that looks a little better. We also want to add a border radius of, let's try 0.25 EM at the first. You can see that just kind of softly rounds those corners. Let's bump that up to 0.5, and I think that's more like what we want. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that padding and border radius and just add it to the code of all the other ones, and you'll see this all update as I do this. Okay, and one more. And now you'll see they all have that. Now I do have something going on here, but I'll fix that in a minute. The other thing is that this text name is really small, so I'm going to look for that span text. It's text name right here, so the size, we're just going to make it 0.8 because I do want it a little smaller and bolder. So there we go. Now this one's off somewhere, so I'm just going to look at that page. And we're going to try to figure out this line. Yeah, there's just an override in here that I need to get rid of. I prefer to get rid of all overrides. And that should have fixed it. So there you go. That's how you can get those text messages that are built into the InDesign template to work properly by adding padding and setting a border radius.